Hello. Welcome to Tarot for Our Times. This is Sarah, medium on the go. And by now, many of my colleagues have been posting videos about this war. And I look at it as the way my mother spoke about my grandfather. She said that when she first met him, when she got married my father, he was very ill and he was really on borrowed time and could go at any time. He lasted another 8 years, and when he passed, it was a really big shock. So this is pretty much, I think, how a lot of people feel with Trump and Netanyahu bombing the hell out of Iran, who, of course, has retaliated. And I didn't do, except for making the thumbnail, which pretty much says it, and coming up with the title, and shuffling my cards, I pretty much decided to kind of fly by the seat of my pants because I think what upsets me about this incident, and we all saw it coming. We knew, he always shows his hand. We knew it was coming. But aside from the knowledge that innocent people are dying, in fact, a school with young girls were hit, and considering other news that's going on, it seemed like grotesquely ironic. At any rate, so this is the continuation of the death march of this regime, shall we say. And, as I've said before, that the horse is not galloping. It's going along very slowly, leaving the bodies in its wake. So I pretty much decided I think I'm going to just kind of let this flow without setting an agenda. And I was tempted not to watch any of the other readers with their videos because I didn't want to be influenced. But I thought, well, nobody really, pretty much, they pretty much analyzed it the way I think of it. But one thing I want to say that I don't think that has been brought up is that aside from the horrific idea of people dying, probably as I speak, Americans, Israelis, and they hit a hotel in Dubai. I mean, absolutely awful is the whole idea of starting this thinking that we're really stupid and that this is going to completely take our attention off the Epstein files. And from all the posts I've seen on social media, this is not happening. In fact, there's more posts about release the files and that sort of thing. And I did, on the thumbnail, you see the news report, and it is from a local TV station in Pittsburgh, the NBC affiliate. And looking at that and some of the other local stations in the comments, for the most part, that's what people are saying. Like, who do you think you're kidding with this is needless. Now, of course, you get the trolls and the knuckle draggers who go, oh yeah, right on, just, that sort of thing. They don't have any reason for it. But so I basically want to do a reading on this, and just to see where it goes, to see if there's any kind of a prediction sort of thing with it, although I'm not really big on that forecast thing, and also to see about how this affects us. I think the one big thing is the absolute insult to our intelligence. And apparently it's backfiring because a lot of people in MAGA world are really, really upset about this. And I mean, some of them have started to turn away with the Epstein files, but a lot of them, with this senseless war, and it's funny because a lot of these people are war. They love their guns and they love their wars, but I think, to hear Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of the others speak out about this, it's almost like I'm actually agreeing with them, although I know they have their agenda. So at any rate, I just want to do a reading and see where this takes us. And I also, in my ongoing theme about how this is affecting us and on our own spiritual journey, I will say one thing. I'm glad I didn't forget it. We're now in Mercury retrograde, and that's not. There's no good time to start a war, but I would say, especially during Mercury retrograde, and this really takes me back to the election of 2012. And about a day or two before, I mean, it was really close. I got a astrological reading from the late astrologer Rick DiClemente. And at the end, we were kind of chatting, and I was trying to get his take. And he was saying, the fix is in. I said, you're not saying that Obama's going to lose. He said, I'm not saying that. He said, but the fix is in. And then as I watched it unfold, I think they tried to pull some hanky-panky, and it didn't work. And I came to the realization that any mischief, election day mischief that the Republicans were trying to do got all screwed up because it was Mercury retrograde. So, little side note is that, this is, when you say, oh, bullshit, Mercury retrograde is not our friend. Yes, it can be our friend. And I believe that this is turning into a big backfiring disaster because the moron started it during Mercury retrograde. I'm sure he doesn't have a clue about it, but that's the one thing I haven't heard anybody else speak of. Or they mentioned one person might have mentioned it in passing, but I think I see this in the light that I saw that election was. Yeah, they're going to try to mess it up, but yeah, good luck. It's Mercury retrograde. So at any rate, let's see if we can. Oh, I hate this when this happens. I don't know what's wrong with this. Okay, press the camera. Jeez. Okay, the camera button on the, I guess I'll figure that out later. I did a test, and let's see if I do it. Slide a camera switch on my device. Okay. Well, damn it. I hate this. Okay. Well, this is only going to go down so far. Okay, so I've been shuffling these up, so I just want to see what's going on here. I don't want to make it a really long one because I think you're going to be seeing so many of these that I don't want to do it for too long. Okay, because I have... Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Okay. We have got, I'm telling you, cannot make this stuff up. The Fool in reverse, really reckless, foolish move. Reckless, absolutely reckless and foolish. Coming up, leading up to this is the Hermit in reverse. And, I guess he's just, he hasn't lit his lantern up yet. He's getting ready to, when he's upright, he's about ready to go and spread his knowledge and his wisdom, but he's in reverse. And instead of being the wise lone person, he's the can't be alone, titty baby. He's just, that light is not going to light up. That people are not going to go along with that. Then we have Temperance following it, which is interesting because in the after tarot we have we have Temperance, and he's kind of he's sort of dumping the mixture of the water and the earth energy back in, which is, I think what you're saying is like nobody's buying this. And I think people want to keep their balance and their equilibrium. And I think with it backfiring, it's all going to kind of work out in the end. That's what this is saying. So the energy around this is the King of Wands, which has been since last year. This has been my Bernie Sanders card, and this is like the older, wiser, and he did inspire a lot of people, the young people. He really did. So what this is saying is that I think he is probably going to. Now I know that they have to pass. Well, actually, both houses have to pass it. So I would think that when Congress reconvenes, and it better be soon, as that he is really going to be an outspoken person against this and be leading a lot of the nation in opposition of this. So I'm going to look at the underlying what's going on with this. Okay, so we have the Knight of Cups. We have the delusional. Now we're with the cognitive decline with cankles. I think we have we're going back to the Knights, and this is kind of like the obsessive stalking, delusional, obsessive, immature person with the romantic illusions like, oh, war is going to bring us together. And this reminds me that I believe that he and the ones that got this whole thing going were under the delusion, this is another form of insulting our intelligence, that we were going to get all like 9/11, the way we all felt like, like we've got to be together as a nation. And that's thinking that, oh, well, that worked then to start the work in Iraq. Well, it kind of did and it didn't. But I think this is what thinking back to, we're at 25 years ago kind of a thing. And interesting, we have the Strength card here, which is, I would say our basic strength is probably going to get us through this in spite of this. That it comes down to, we're stronger than we think. Okay, then we have, even when we're up against the corrupt crime family. And this is a kind of thing, it's almost like, I keep thinking of those, gangster movies like The Godfather, where, they go to war. They had their wars. And this is very much like this whole thing. And it'll be tit for tat. Well, you offed this guy, so now we're going to, retaliate. And then next thing you know, we're at war. And this is out of corruption. And I am sure that there's some money involved, just like Venezuela. So I will ask in the end if this is going to be enough. My feeling is that it's probably going to drag on, but I think there's an expiration date, because he'll kind of like go a taco tits kind of, declare victory and then yank out at some point, like, maybe in a week or so. Who knows? Who knows? So in opposition of this, we have the Nine of Wands, which, this is interesting. This is about the wounded warrior who he patches himself up. He lives to fight another day. When I see this in reverse, with all this shit that they're doing, it's like they can't do that much longer. They're you know they're this whole administration is getting very weak. With each of these actions, they're getting weaker. And they may not, and I think this goes with his health too. He's not going to be bouncing back to fight another day. So, let's see. We have on the conscious level with this is kind of trying to balance things out. I would say that I believe that it looks like what they're trying to do is getting our attention on war is going to balance out the Epstein schedule. But there's more stuff. There's photos coming up, but this is kind of like, this is the conscious delusion. Then we're on the subconscious level with here we go again. The Hermit in reverse. The Hermit in reverse. Well, we had that as the before tarot, but we're presently the Hermit in reverse. It's, I would say also, this is sort of like that whole psychological, you've all got to love me and I can't be alone. And this is one of those desperate, this is, talk to his niece, Mary, the desperate attempt to get the love he never got from his father, but he does not know how to deal with people except for bullying them. And the thing is, it would be one thing if he were doing it in his private life, but there are lives involved with this. Okay, so we have, in the past, we have, the Nine of Wands. And it looks like the wolf is at the door. The wolf is okay. That's the I know what this is a takeoff on. Yeah, okay. So it's this is coming out of the whole fact is like with all the Epstein stuff and going on. This is kind of like the wolf is getting into the wolf is getting into the into the doors, and the fight is going out. He's in this one, he's recovering from that, but this one is like he's getting in, and it again it comes down to there may not be any recovering from that this time. So this is apparently before he gets wounded, but he's going to get more than wounded because that looks like a mean thing. Okay, so in the present, we have the Ten of Cups. That's telling me that they're completely delusional about this. I often look at this as the the rainbow that doesn't last. I think that he and that drunken asshole Hegseth are in a state of euphoria with all the bombs and all this stuff going on, but it's not going to last. It's like part of the fantasy world. It's this horrific part. I didn't expect it to go this way. It's a horrific part of the fantasy world. I believe that what this tells us that we maybe we need to start getting very real about what this is all about. I mean, that's what this is saying, is that they're off on their little euphoria, and they're people whose children may be getting killed over there. Okay, so coming up with this is it is the Five of Cups. And see, he's leading up to just focusing on the ones that are spilt The ones that are behind him, he's not turning around to look at those. He's getting ready to. So look at the negativity thing and not being able to move on, which I think this is telling me, that looking at it right after the Ten of Cups here is telling me that they're getting ready to be mired and stuck in this, because I think the whole thing is that this could be the grief of when this whole thing goes south, and it will. Now, we know that the Ayatollah is no longer with us, but I also heard when they were speculating if he's alive or not and that sort of thing, that there are a couple of things. That they have someone ready to take his place who could be worse than him. Can't imagine that, but someone who's worse than him. And then the son of the Shah is waiting in the wings too. And that will be no picnic either. So they're looking at a very bad situation that they have put them in. Now, granted, they've had a deplorable government, and as bad as the Shah was, thank you CIA for that. That it was not nearly as bad as what's going on now. Okay, so let's see. In the hopes and the fears, what do we got in the hopes and the fears? The sun. Yep, they're hoping that the truth doesn't come out about this, although it's very transparent. But then the fear is that even with the sun in reverse, as I say, there's always some light coming through those clouds. So it's the truth about why this began. And it's also the truth about the Epstein files, because this is all a big, and it's so obvious. It's the whole mind-boggling thing about it is he did not have a good week in Epstein. That's for sure. The Clintons both were, beyond reproach in their testimony and didn't avoid or call the fifth or anything like that. So this is the important part. Like, see how the world sees us, how we see ourselves in this mess. Well. Okay. We've got a Mama Russia right here. I would say that I think Russia's Russia and Iran have been pretty allied here. This is a first. I think I'm going to have to put a clarifier on top of this one. Okay, but it could also be seen as we still see ourselves as the abundant, fertile nation. But since that Russia thing, it always jumps out on me. When I do personal readings, it doesn't. But let's see if I can put a clarifier on top of this. Okay, off balance. Yep. I think what this is saying is that we feel as though we're probably poking the bear. And that it's also that this is a big threat. Wars are expensive. This is a big threat to our prosperity. Seeing this, and so this is going on, is that I would say that we're not seeing ourselves in a very good light with this. And this is this goes beyond the party. Yep, I think that's what's happening. Okay, so how others see us is the rest of the world is seeing that along with us, that the smoke screen has failed. The smoke screen, it's not working. It is not working because the rest of the world, they're throwing former monarchs or, and prime ministers and ambassadors, in the UK, the ambassador to the US, they're throwing their asses in jail. So there's no smoke screen that anybody could put up that's going to that's going to divert attention away from Epstein. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if, there's all this talk about that Epstein could have been with Mossad. My feel about that is I don't think he was formally with Mossad or the KGB, but I think he was an asset in that he was selling them information. I don't see him as like their version of a 007 at all. I just don't see that. So I want to do some kind of a conclusion to all of this and to see how this is possibly impacting our own personal lives and this shift. Well, one thing is that getting us in wars is not a way to stir up patriotism. I mean, I guess his brain is too messed up to realize that he's the general. Those of us that knew about the Vietnam War knew that was like Korea was pretty well. Korea was sort of senseless, but it could be sold. There is nothing to sell about the Vietnam conflict, and yet here we are with one that's even more stupid than that, if more senseless than that. So let's see where we are and how the conclusion, how it's affecting us and what we're going through. Chariot says we're moving forward. We're moving forward regardless of all this other bullshit over here. We really are moving forward. And the fact that the surprising people that are speaking out against this war, like some of the MAGA people in Congress, or formerly in Congress, if they're seeing through this, we are going forward on our own journey, so to speak, and that we're just not buying this. To me, that's what the Chariot's saying. Okay, so the energy behind this is the blindfolds off. We're no longer tied to loyalty because someone holds a high office, and there is the foot. The foot is, there's probably more of a foothold in the water of this spiritual, emotional growth. But it's like she realizes I'm getting out of these. I'm no longer tied to any of this old stuff they're trying to tell. And I think that maybe in our own personal lives, it's kind of like the stuff that people are selling as far as religion and the more toxic, or how we're supposed to be patriotic, or along with it in the Deepak Epstein Chopra crowd of how we're supposed to be spiritual, and all these friggin' gurus on YouTube that's telling us how to do that. It's like, no, that stuff is not working anymore. So let's see what we have here. In the past, this is funny how this keeps coming up in these readings. In the past, we have had the smoke screens, but that doesn't seem. But this is what that used to work in the past. But I think a lot of this female energy. A lot of the real leadership has been coming up from women. Female energy, and she could be a composite of AOC, Crockett, the rest of the squad people, but also like it's a mature. The queen is mature, so um, I could see this being there. There's some of the older ones that may not be getting as much attention, but a lot of good female energy. That's I can't believe this. Again with the Hermit in reverse. So this is a pretty much about seeing, that this is what this whole regime is. And I would say that putting it far along in this reading, he's kind of wandered into, we're really isolated. Only the most despotic dictator like banana republic countries are supporting this. That's so that this is but the thing that's really important is that we've got to get out and say, that's him, that's not us, that's him. Then moving right along, interesting. I'm wondering if there's going to, I think, okay. I was saying, what the hell is this? Okay, I just got a little message from the spirit crew who say that this is the illusion that, that this is 1935, and if we could just get into a war, then that would boost our economy. But that's an illusion. That's not how it works, 90 years later. But it's kind of like the old, I'm seeing like this is all like this old school. Like, if all else fails, let's start a war. Okay, so then we have, the thing is that they're going to be left out in the cold with this. They really are. And anybody that follows them, or that, join the party. I would also say that I get that what this is telling me is that while he's been getting fat off the fat of the land, that could be coming to an end. Because is that he's made billions since in the second term. But I really do believe in easy come, easy go. I really do. Making billions that fast in that crooked of a way. Of course, this is all for entertainment purposes only. So then let's see, we got going here is the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. I think what I'm seeing is a Queen of Pentacles in reverse. I think that's the Millennia card. It's sort of like the materialistic, social climby, fakey fake, nouveau riche, gauche kind of a person. This is Millennia. I somehow there's going to be in some way, she is getting attention for having dated Epstein and having more of a connection. So this is, I'm going to say this could be the wild card. Queen of Pentacles in reverse could be the wild card that could be bringing down the House of Cards, because her story is not going away. So you get some juicy scandal with the First Lady. I guess what this is saying is you can have wars until the cows come home, but I think she's going to be very key, but in more ways than being part of that whole Epstein scene. But she's going to be playing a really important part, but perhaps in a negative way, or she may end up throwing him under the bus in some way too, if she sees that to her advantage. So let's see, at the end of this road, oh yeah, Lovers in reverse. Okay, this is about all these people that loved him, that maybe not so much, maybe not so much. This is about the disillusionment of love too. I mean, when this is upright, this is kind of ideal because they're not like wrapped up in each other and losing their own personality. It's blessed by the angel and all this stuff. But I think that when this is in reverse, this is the disillusionment. So, and I've talked about this before, so I think it's like all tied in together. So this is so okay. Time to go to Geek Squad. Okay. I think what I'm seeing in this whole thing is that well, yeah, I would say that we've got to take care of ourselves. And any of you that have kids the high school age, unless, and I realize this is the poor person's thing, because if you go in the service, you can get your education paid for and all this good stuff. And I could see where it's a reasonable thing, but I would say in this era with a stupid war like this, I don't think I would be, if I were a parent of someone in high school, I don't think I'd be encouraging them to join the service at this point. Hopefully they're not going to reinstate. I don't know that it's going to go long enough for them to reinstate the draft. But at any rate, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but I think what all of these are saying is that in a way, you can't be looking at the news and watching every bomb dropping, but there is a lot about taking care of oneself, and I think I need to pull another card as kind of a conclusion, but at the same time, you cannot isolate yourself, that now it's more important to be part of the resistance. And I believe that I looked at, I think I was looking at Facebook, I saw huge protest in Pittsburgh. I had to look at the background. I could see the PPG with the little spires. I said, is this Pittsburgh or New York? And then I saw that building in the background. Oh, it's Pittsburgh, my goodness. So let's see. What does this all mean to us? Okay. We cannot, this is a very good one. We really cannot go back to the past. This isn't post Pearl Harbor. We're going to go off and make the world free for democracy. And I understand what that was all about, because it was like a preemptive strike, helping out Europe before they came to our shores. Face it, that's what he was what Hitler was planning on doing. But I think things, they watch, and I think there have been some on Turner Classic today. Oh no, it's Westerns, but usually around patriotic holidays like Veterans Days, they show all these movies with John Wayne and whatnot about World War II. We cannot go back. That this is not what this is. This is not what this is. And I think that's what some people get caught up in, that romance, that this is a whole new territory that we have been in, and doing stuff in the past and getting all sentimental over it is something that we need to avoid. And I would say in our own personal growth, you can't escape this, being surrounded by this every day, is a lot of stuff that we did in the past is not going to work. I think meditating and breathing is fine, but that's not going to solve all of your problems. All that's going to do is enable you to build up your spiritual immune system so you can deal with this better, but it's not going to solve any problems. But I think it's really getting back to this whole thing I've been, this whole developing thing, is that we're really in this together. And the big mantra of dealing with all of this, God, what's he going to do next stuff, is saying that there really are more of us than there are of them. And that whatever shenanigans they think they're going to pull for the election, is that we got to come out and make it too big to rig. And I think right now the primaries, it's too late for them to screw around with the primaries. But I'm going to bet with the election of Mamdani in New York is that people are going to go, because New Yorkers aren't that different from the rest of us. I live there. I know they really aren't. I think I really see that the more progressive candidates are going to be winning in primaries. But, it's up to us to put people in that are going to say, no, this stuff is not acceptable. No, you just cannot go and decide we're at war with someone without at least having a little chat with us. So, at any rate, that's pretty much my take on all of this. So, everybody, you just take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye.